No. So welcome to the Soul Man Surgery on this beautiful Wednesday morning. We have got sleep behavioural therapist Donna Fairley, amongst other things, Donna, because it's not just sleep stuff that you do, but we'll chat about that in a wee bit. So Donna, talk to us. What is sleep medicine?
Well, sleep medicine's all aspects of sleep. So when you talk about sleep medicine, it covers, when you're snoring, so obstructive sleep apnea, people have restless legs, people have nightmares. So sleep medicine just covers all aspects of sleep. People can't sleep. Insomnia being one of the biggest ones, and that's where I come in. So if you've been snoring, there's actually a hospital in Edinburgh, and a lot of people don't know this, that you can be referred by your GP. So if your snoring is really making you tired the next day, or your partner is, or you know somebody, or if you wake up in the morning, you've got a bit of a sore head and a dry mouth, you can go to your doctor, and your doctor can actually refer you to a sleep department. Because I know many people know, I didn't know that until I went 15 years ago, applied for a job. Oh, somebody's come on.
That's all right. I'll just mute them. That's okay.
Yeah, so it sounds quite fancy, but that's all it is. It's just doctors that look at all aspects of sleep. Brilliant. It's not, a medicine. There are treatments for sleep disorders, but it's not necessarily drugs. And that sounds like sleep medicine is, medicine to help you sleep. It's just all forms of treatment, covers all forms of treatment.
And would you go to your GP if you were having lots of bother, because I do snore. Apparently I snore quite heavily.
Yeah, but people think that sleep apnea, and it's in the news all the time, and it can be quite worrying. When you're hearing all the bad stuff about, this is what happens if you've got untreated sleep apnea. Some people are simple snorers. So you need to know the difference. And what you told me earlier, Stephen, about you sleep like a log, it doesn't sound to me like you've got obstructive sleep apnea. Because if you had obstructive sleep apnea, you would wake up in the morning very tired, with a sore head, bit of a dry mouth, a bit of a hangover without the alcohol. And what would normally happen is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have a massive slump. So you just want to sleep, and you just feel pretty rubbish, actually, just a really bad hangover effect. And so for somebody it's just a simple snorer, which I think you probably are, that's fine. There's things you can do. Yeah, we can all lose a wee bit of weight. We all know that. You can sleep on your side, fresh air, cool room. Obstructive sleep apnea, what happens with that is, as I said, you'll wake up in the morning, a bit of a sore head, a bit of a dry mouth, your partner's complaining, and sometimes you wake up choking or you hold your breath. That's what it is, obstructive sleep apnea. The obstructive part is where your throat closes over, and there's many reasons that can happen. That could be hereditary, it can be because you maybe put on a bit of weight, it can be hormonal, people go through the menopause like me, so all these things, you've maybe never snored in your life, and all of a sudden you're snoring.
I'm thinking mine's probably weight related.
Yeah, mine is as well, and hormone related, and that's fine. But it's not about the nighttime activity, it's about how you feel during the day. And that's quite a good gauge, if it's really affecting your day-to-day quality of life. I mean, there's quite simple questionnaires that I can ask somebody just by doing a short history. It's very easy to get treated now. And when I worked in the hospital, loads of people from West Lothian used to come through the doors. They never used to, it just used to be Edinburgh and the Highlands, but now the doctors are a lot more aware about it. So basically what you would do is you would go to your GP, you would tell them how you're feeling, you're holding your breath during the night, you're waking up feeling terrible, you're really tired during the day, not 100%, keep catching colds, your immune system's a bit low, and they'll refer you for a sleep study. And all hams there is you normally just, nowadays what they're doing is they're giving you a kit to take home. So you would just take a wee machine home, you wear it overnight, it just tests your oxygen levels and whether you're holding your breath during sleep, and it just gauges how much sleep you're actually getting. And then the treatment's really simple. It's just, I don't know if you want me to go into that, Stephen, that's maybe just a wee bit of...
No, you might as well, if you're on it, we want to hear it.
Not scary. Sorry?
If you're on it, we want to hear it.
Well, the treatment is really, really simple, and people are quite scared of it. And I've heard people, I had patients coming in saying there's no way that I could lie beside my partner with that machine. Well, my husband's got one. And it was me that sent him in 12 years ago because I realised his snoring, it was always a bit of a joke, was actually affecting his quality of life and me. And I wanted to kill him, so that was quite a dangerous thing as well. I mean, one morning he woke up and I put a pillow over his face, tucked it in really tight, because he was snoring during the night. And when I woke up in the morning, he hadn't moved. And I genuinely thought I'd murdered him. So when I whipped off the pillow, I said, like, that's it, you need to get in for a test. So he's got a machine. And basically, it's just a wee square thing about that size, and you get a mask that just blows air continually during the night, and it keeps this obstruction open. So very simple, very, very quiet. So if you can imagine, you've been sleeping beside somebody that sounds like a motorbike all night, going from that to a very quiet machine that literally is quite soothing. It sounds a wee bit like maybe a very, very quiet tide. Very relaxed. I think it's very relaxing. So that is the gold standard treatment for obstructive sleep apnea.
Yeah, it's interesting. Claire that works with us in the shop, she had said that her fiance Mike, he has a machine for sleep apnea, and she says it just helps her sleep at night. It's lying next to him and it's
very quiet. Very quiet. Yeah, so that's the gold standard treatment. Of course, there's other things you can do. You can lose a bit of weight, you can get a bit fitter, but sometimes that doesn't work if you're genetically predisposed. So if you've got a parent, siblings that have got it, a good chance you're going to have it as well.
Yeah.
Very easy treated and very common now. And treatment here is free as well. In Ireland and other places, you have to pay for your machine, but it's free here.
Oh, that's good. So it's well worth people maybe sending their very loud snoring partner away for some bit of, or some sort of support.
Support your GP, that's the first line.
I'm probably answering my own question here, but I'm going to ask you a question because I know that you've got lots of medical training and lots of years experience. Sometimes when I'm snoring very loudly, I wake myself up, right? But usually when I'm snoring really loudly like that, I wake up in the morning and see the uvula at the back of my throat. It's very, very swollen. Sometimes so swollen that I can't even eat my breakfast or have a cup of coffee. It's really, really, really bad.
So I take it you're a mouth breather. You're a mouth breather then.
I must be.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't have the other daytime symptoms, then I wouldn't send you to your GP. I mean, I've got some stuff. I've got a couple of mouth strips I can give you. So there are things. If you're a simple snorer and you're finding that you're getting dryness here, and that's just because it's the fact it's just vibrating when you're breathing in, possibly is closing in a wee bit in your trachea here. So I've got these things that you can put over your mouth, which sometimes I use, and it just keeps your mouth closed and forces you to breathe through your nose. Yeah, so avoids this. A rep gave me them, so you could try some of them. Because if you don't have any daytime symptoms, I wouldn't say to you to go to your GP.
Yeah,
that's not enough.
Like I said to you earlier, I sleep very, very well. I think the only time when I don't sleep well is when there's stress in my life. And
yeah, that's very common.
Managing stress very, very well the last few months. But what would your advice be to people who are very stressed and are having trouble sleeping as a result of that?
Oh, that's like how long's a piece of string? Stress is really prevalent just now.
15 minutes.
How have you got? Right, okay. Well, you need rhythm and routine. And during COVID, everybody's routines just dotty pot. Me, I'm very guilty of checking my laptop at night time. So I'm not having a wind down period. And that's when you find most people's stress comes in, is when they're taking the worries of the day to bed. So your brain doesn't know that it's time to wind down, let go of the day. And I say to the patients that I see, put the day to rest. So you have to have a period. And it's not just about sleep hygiene, because I don't agree with that. You need to, particularly during stressful periods of time or any time, is you have to have a wind down period. So you can decide yourself, if you're going through a stressful period, I'll keep a journal if that suits you. I've got a really good tool called a worry tree. So if you've got worries and you're waking up during the night and you've got a consistent worry going round and you just don't know how to get out of your head, A worry tree is a really good tool, because what you decide to do, pick a time, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, not too close to bedtime, write that worry down. Writing it down, but the act of writing it down empties it helps to empty your mind of that worry. And then what you do is you make a concerted effort that, okay, you're putting the day to rest. You'll any more worries, put them down your worry tree, and then you'll deal with them tomorrow. And so then what you need to do is just have that period of time where you do something that you enjoy. So whether it's a walk, whether it's a run, people say you shouldn't exercise too late. If you enjoy that, you do that. But there's also another important thing. So that's why I'm saying how long's a piece of string, because I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
It's really important you get enough daylight. It's really important you get enough food, and it's really important you get enough wind down time for a good quality sleep. So my top tip is put the day to rest. So you've got worries, you've got concerns, you write them down, and then you do something you enjoy. Whether it's sewing, knitting, having a bath, watching your favourite programme is absolutely fine. There's things that you shouldn't do. Don't eat too late. Don't work too late. You need to pull that day back and look forward to the night time. I mean, there's lots of things I could talk about your bed, we call it stimulus control, about your bed environment, how your room should be, what happens when you wake up during the night with worries. So that's what I mean. It's just
So
huge.
much,
My top tip is put the day to rest and try and have a period of time before your bed where you're not thinking about things. You're not reading things on the news. You're not doing work right before your bed, because your mind just will not be able to switch off. And we have two parts of our brain. One where just switches off, that reactive brain just switches off, and your emotional part of your brain, they all die down, they all dampen down during the night. If you're reading something about COVID right before you go to sleep, you can guarantee you're going to wake up worrying about something. It might not be COVID, but you've then just ignited that, that part of your brain that does all the problem solving, and we really want to calm everything down. So I mean, I could talk for Scotland about sleep.
No, it's good. So
the most important thing is get that day to rest. Don't take these worries to bed. And there are ways, and that's my job. There are ways you can help with that.
There's two things I want to ask you, and I've got in my notes here because we were speaking about this yesterday. So I do, I do a lot of mindfulness and meditation. I always have since I've known you for all these years. But see, when it comes to my bedtime routine, what I tend to do is I stand outside. I know this is really, really silly, or it's not really silly because it's my routine, but what I do is I stand outside the back door and I breathe. Mm-hmm. I just breathe in fresh air, just stand there, just breathe. Then I come in and I have a glass of water, and I go upstairs and I have a cold shower. Mm. And somebody told me that by having cold showers, it drops your core temperature, which helps you sleep. Is that right?
No, it's no. What you're doing is,
I'm not happy with that.
In a way it is, but you're doing it a cruel way. There's another way to do it that's actually much gentler to your system. It doesn't need to be cold. But first of all, I'll answer the other one. When I worked in smoking cessation, where I was helping people to stop smoking, they used to say they felt much calmer because I did breathing exercises with them. So I used to just try and explain to people who were stopping smoking, the act of smoking you think is calming you down. It's having the opposite effect. But basically, when you think about it, you're inhaling. So if you're smoking, you're inhaling and then you're blowing out.
Yeah.
So I'm the same. I do mindfulness and breathing as well when I'm trying to get people to relax and wind down, and during the night when they're waking up. So that's standing outside, and it's almost as you're spiritual as well. So you're connecting as well. You're connecting to the universe, you're getting that energy down, you're doing your breathing, coming in, you're hydrating, and then you're spoiling it with a cold shower, Stephen.
No, I'm enjoying a cold shower.
What happens with the showers or the baths is the core temperature part of it is right. If you have a warm shower, a warm bath, it will warm you up. Okay, now I always say have it 60 minutes if you can before bed, because our melatonin can only come in when our core temperature drops. And melatonin, I'm sure everybody's heard about that. Yeah. Needs to come in, but our temperature needs to drop before then that can come in. So if you're having a nice warm, not hot if you want, warm shower or bath, you're feeling quite warm, and then when you come out the bath, it drops. So when that temperature drops, you relax from your shower and bath, your core temperature will drop naturally, okay, because you're raising it, then it drops, then your melatonin comes in. That's your sleep hormone.
So I could have a nice hot shower and walk out.
Yeah, you can. I have it every single night. That is my go-to, my bath, every night, without fail, 9 o'clock. Yep.
I know Gina's watching this. Gina, that answers the question that we were speaking about yesterday.
I can't believe you've been having a cold shower.
But I've been doing I don't know if you've heard of the Wim Hof technique, where you're, you breathe in, breathe, hold your breath. And it's also a lot of cold water immersion in that as well. So
that might be good for you, but that's not good for people that are really struggling with anxiety.
Absolutely. But when we were speaking yesterday about this, I was saying to Gina, I was saying that I have a cool shower, and Gina's like, no, you're a madman. Why are you having a cold shower? But it works for me.
If it works for you, and I say if it works for people, whatever works for somebody, that's why if somebody loves exercise and that's what they do to wind down, absolutely go for it.
Yes.
Somebody that's watching the telly, if they wake up during the night, people say to me, how can you say to somebody go and watch telly during the night? If that's what gets them sleepy again, then that's absolutely fine. So it's what works for you.
That's my biggest bugbear. So myself and my wife, she loves to watch continuous episodes of Friends in bed every night. And I go to bed and I'm like, turn the friggin' telly off.
No tellies, that is my rule.
I don't say friggin' either. I use the other bad word.
That's my rule. There are no tellies or electronic devices in beds.
We've got a TV in the living room, but we've also got a TV in the bedroom, and I'm like, can we just get rid of the telly in the bedroom? And she's like, no, that's how I get to sleep. But when she was little, she would have a telly in her room, and that's how she would fall asleep at night.
No. That might be okay just now, but it's affecting you, and it might affect her further down the line. So
it doesn't affect. It affects me, but it doesn't affect Nikki. She has a great.
It might affect her quality of life, her quality sleep. It might ask her how refreshed she feels in the morning.
That's true. That's a good point.
Because everybody knows about blue light, so I won't go on about the blue light, but we know that the blue light kind of slows down the melatonin. But then I get patients saying to me all the time, but I fall asleep watching telly. Yeah, but what happens is it's blocked that melatonin. So you might fall asleep with the telly on, but I can guarantee your sleep's going to be broken during the night. Yeah. It fragments all these sleep stages, these really important sleep stages. It will break up your sleep during the night. So guaranteed that she'll wake up at some point.
What happens with Nikki normally, she'll fall asleep about 9:30 because she goes to bed really early. She falls asleep about 9:30. Then I can get the opportunity to turn the TV off at 10. And then we just sleep in complete blackness. All the lights in the house have to be out, and there has to be a window open as well for me.
Mm-hmm. If she was my patient, I would be saying get watching the telly downstairs, then switch everything off and both these go upstairs. Telly out the room.
So that would be your advice to people, like, do take the telly out of the room.
There's no getting away from that.
Yeah.
That's just all the evidence is there that it blocks or stops your melatonin, and you'll fall asleep. Derek used to have a telly in the room. It's the only way he could go to sleep, but I was disturbed, and then he was disturbed eventually as he got a bit older. There is no telly in the room.
I'm curious to ask, see all the people that are watching, can you guys give me or would you be able to let us know in the chat box, do you guys have a TV in your bedrooms? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know as many as you think.
I do, but it's only for watching movies with the kids. I don't watch it at night.
Yeah, it's a lot of no's. There's more people than you think now who don't have them.
I'm really surprised by that there's so many people that don't have a TV in the room.
That's the first go-to thing if you're struggling to sleep. People, the education is out there that, didn't watch telly. Yeah. Well done. No phones in the room either.
That's fascinating that there's so many people.
Yeah, honestly, you'd be really interested. iPad's just as bad, unfortunately.
Yeah. So all
Listen, I'm human though. I don't practice what I preach all the time. And
oh no, I sit in
when
bed and watch
Derek's
TikTok.
yeah, well that's it. And you're right. But even when I'm in the bath, meant to be putting my day to rest, I can't resist a TikTok. But then it's addictive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you that if then I think, oh, I'm quite awake, but then I don't put two and two. I'm only human, I think TikTok's really funny. It can be 10 o'clock. I've been watching the screen quite close. Yep, I can go to sleep, but I can guarantee I'm going to feel a bit tired in the morning because I'll have woken up a few times during the night.
I have to say, see when we're talking about like TV or stimulation like that, can that affect our dream state as well? Our REM sleep.
Yeah, that's a problem-solving part of sleep. Yeah, absolutely. You're igniting that. So if somebody wants to watch telly or watch something, I say watch something that's quite dull, boring, or comedy before you go to sleep, because that's a problem for our rapid eye movement sleep, that dream state of sleep. That's our problem-solving state of sleep. And you find that people who are very early waking, like when you're waking in the morning very early and you can't get back to sleep, often your mood is affected that following day, because that regulates your emotions. So that dream sleep regulates your emotions as well. So you might feel either a bit anxious or a bit flat.
Yeah.
And it's good to know when you get up, I feel like this, I've been awake, I woke up 4, 5, 6 in the morning. If you are feeling a wee bit low, it's actually really good to know that it's just because you've been awake really early and you've missed that really important mood regulating part of sleep. So I try and avoid people getting to the cycle of insomnia where they have these thoughts about sleep. I try and break that cycle, about, okay, you just tell yourself, right, I was awake really early, feeling a bit flat, but it's only one night. It's just one night, and then get on with your day and do something you enjoy. Even if we're doing things we don't want to do, like working and stuff like that, there should always be a part of the day that you look forward to something. Whether it's a wee bit mindful breathing or reading or anything.
Yeah. I was always fascinated that, like, I used to speak to Donna loads about sleep, and I was always fascinated to find that that REM sleep or dream state sleep, it doesn't occur until like the early hours of the morning. It's the
You'll
last
get a wee bit at the beginning, but the reason, stages of sleep's another whole episode. You've got there's 4 stages of sleep. So you've got stage 1.
We're going to be doing this over the next 3 weeks, so we can do it.
So I might just keep that. So we can talk. We can have a what happens during sleep session, because it would take up too long to talk about it. But basically, what's quite nice to know is when I talk about sleep is somebody's got a particular insomnia and they're feeling a particular way. It's nice to know it's just because you've missed a certain stage of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to tell you, because sometimes they go, I'm not sleeping and this is terrible. And then you go in that vicious cycle of, I'm never going to get back to sleep and I'm always going to feel like this, or I'm always going to feel, I'm going to get worse. It's good to know that there's 3 different types of insomnia. So if somebody cannot get to sleep, they're physically going to be feeling horrible, the next day, or maybe just a wee bit compromised. But then your immune system's a bit lower. It's easy to catch colds and things like that. The middle part of sleep is when you're waking up quite a lot. That can be anxiety inducing. So you're waking up, you've got a lot of rumination, a lot of worries are going round and round and round. We want to try and break that cycle as well, and we can work on that. And then the last part, so you've got your initial onset sleep insomnia, and you can't get to sleep. And that's usually a bit of depression. And then you've got your middle cycle, that's a bit of both anxiety, depression, or medical. A lot of people wake up during the night, they're in pain. So you've got a medical component in there. And then you've got your early morning waking, and that's generally anxiety. So it's really important to know what part of insomnia you've got, or what part, what's affecting your sleep, about how you're going to feel the next day. If you're missing your first chunk of sleep at night, physically you're going to feel a wee bit knackered. If you're missing your last bit in the morning, then your mood will be affected. So it's quite nice to know what's going on during your sleep, because all these stages are really important for your mental and physical health. It's not just a case of we go to sleep all night, and we feel great the next day. Or we go to bed, we don't sleep very well, and we feel rubbish the next day. It's good to know why.
Yeah.
I think it gives you that wee bit more power, doesn't it?
So next week, Donna, I think it would be a really good session to do about the stages of sleep as well, and go into a bit of detail about that if everybody else is happy with that. And what would your top 3 sleep tips be to anybody watching this right now?
I hate these top tips questions.
That's all right.
How long is a piece of string, Stephen? Right. Okay. I can't give you 3. I'll give you my tips, my top tips.
Okay.
You have the same bedtime and you have the same rise time. Now, this is generally, see, for people who have, so this is only tips for people who are struggling with sleep. There's no point in me trying to change somebody's sleep when they actually don't have a sleep problem. So if somebody comes to me and says, what's the top tips? I say it's the top tips for people who are struggling with sleep is you have maintained the same bedtime and you have the same rise time. That's 7 days a week. Obviously there's a more than, and I'm the same. And I find if I knock it off, then my time for getting up is knocked off. So if you notice, if you go to bed later, it's not just you're going to get up later because you're going to bed later, it's your circadian cycle has shifted. And if you keep doing that, if you go to bed consistently half an hour later for a period of time, your circadian clock will change, it will shift, and you'll find it very difficult to then try and go back to bed earlier. So it's like that hangover effect or that jet lag effect.
Is that why when the clock change we feel it?
Sometimes I think we think too much about that, really. It's only an hour. Yeah, I think people overthink that. Yeah, but that hour, kids feel it more, or parents of kids will feel it more. Put it that way, because their wee clocks are quite set, or they should be set. But yeah, so my advice is, top tip really is, go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time 7 days a week. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more involved when it's insomnia and it's pretty chronic, and it can be have to be really strict. But then, when you get up, you get those curtains open as soon as possible. You get that light in, and you get hydrated. So you get your glass of water and you start moving. I mean, we'll have to have another session about a sleep drive and why we sleep. So, I think education is really, really important about sleep, why we sleep, what are the processes. And it doesn't need to be too sciencey. It's very straightforward for when somebody's struggling with sleep. So we've got a sleep drive. So you wake up in the morning, you've got hormones released, and it's called your sleep drive. And there's a sciencey name, but I'll not go into that. And basically, what happens is when you're waking up, you build up a sleep drive during the day. Otherwise, we just keep free running. Okay, so all these hormones come in, and then some circadian rhythm's really important. So we need light. First of all, we need light, and it wakes us up. Okay, then we need to get hydrated. And then if we're busy during the day, we need to set that time, remember, to put the day to bed. So we need to eat well, get enough light, and get enough exercise. It's really important for your circadian rhythm. Okay, no napping is my big one, but I will allow napping if you've got medical illness, or if you're really struggling untreated on obstructive sleep apnea. There is times for you to nap, and it's before 4 p.m, but we can talk about that another time. So if you feel you really have to nap, you must nap before 4 p.m. and only for 30 minutes. Any longer than that and you will feel terrible, and you'll reduce that sleep drive. So you can imagine blowing up a balloon, right? And you keep blowing up a balloon until it's full. If you can imagine that's your sleep drive, okay, and this needs to build up to a point where you can't stay awake anymore. Okay, and that's called your homeostasis. It's part of your circadian rhythm. You blow up that balloon and then you let some air out of that. What do you need to do? Blow it back up. So in terms of sleep, if you're having a long nap at the wrong time, come 11 o'clock when you really should be going to bed, you're not tired. So you've taken some of that sleep drive, and it's like you're borrowing from the next night's sleep. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I always feel awful after having a nap.
Yeah, as I say, 30 minutes, because what happens is you're not getting into a full sleep cycle then. You're having a 30-minute nap, so you're not going to the deep stages of sleep. You're just having a restorative nap. And that's for drivers. I'll say for drivers, people who are not, are ill, people who are taking care of kids, you know, that you want to come off your school and you're just done. So there are reasons to have naps, but that's the golden rule, before 4 p.m. and for 30 minutes only. That's your question?
Absolutely. There's some.
You need to stop me talking because I can just keep talking.
No, they're really good tips. So what I've taken from that is go to bed the same time every night, get up the same time every morning, eat better, exercise, and don't
Daylight.
nap.
Daylight. You need daylight.
And daylight.
You need sunlight exposure. Even if it's cloudy, you will get some lux coming through, so there will be light coming through. Don't eat too late before dinner, at least 2 hours. Don't eat your dinner too late, at least 2 hours before bed, because you can't digest your food and then have the melatonin coming in at the same time. It doesn't work. The melatonin will be delayed until you've digested your food.
Interesting. And
not spicy.
That's something I definitely don't do. I don't eat after 6 o'clock at night at all, ever. And I think that if I did have something, we were at my sister-in-law's wedding a couple of weeks ago, and they had rolls and link and rolls and bacon at like 9:30 at night, 30 minutes before we all had to leave. And honestly, I'd see trying to sleep that night, it was awful.
And that's why your body's trying to digest this food while the melatonin's trying to help you sleep. So our bodies are fine-tuned, to do what they're supposed to do. But we as humans can just think we can override that. Well, we'll pay the price. But having that education, we can work better.
Yeah. So we're going to go to questions now, Donna, if that's all right with you. We're 5 minutes over our question time, but that's fine. So I'm looking here. April is saying that her struggle is vivid dreaming, always in the same. I know Fitbits aren't accurate, but my REM sleep is always really high, and I wake up knackered. I always meditate and try to have downtime. My hubby jokes I have a double life. I am bad for sleepwalking and talking too.
Well, that sounds like you need to maybe go and see if you've got a history of sleepwalking and sleep talking, then that can be a disorder called parasomnia or REM behavior disorder. So it's easily treated, but if it's becoming an issue, April's at the top there,
yeah.
If it's becoming an issue, so do you want to unmute, or is it just typed in questions?
You can unmute if you like, yeah.
Hi.
So, hi, April. So have you had this since you were little?
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you ever hurt yourself or done anything that's been a bit dangerous?
Not often, but during the first lockdown there, I had actually opened the door and went outside and tried to get my bike out my shed.
Yeah.
So luckily I went back to bed.
Yeah.
But it was my neighbour who saw me and told my husband the day after. So that could have been a bit dangerous.
What it sounds like to me is when we're in our REM sleep, we're supposed to be paralysed. And like I said, that's a problem-solving part of sleep. So if you're having these exciting dreams or abstract dreams, our body should be paralysed, and then what happens is our brain processes this. But in what's called, and I'm not saying you have it because it would have to be a sleep doctor that would diagnose it. What happens with people that have these sort of REM behavior disorders or these parasomnias is you are reenacting what you're dreaming about. So your body is not being paralysed, so you're basically getting up. And that's why I've said, have you ever hurt yourself? Because there's been, reports, and we've had patients coming in and they've got up and they've cooked and they've got up in the morning and they have no idea. That's quite dangerous. Or like you say, open the front door. Some people have actually driven their cars. So it's really easily treated. So don't worry about it. But I would suggest that you go to your GP. Because some people just think that this is just a wee behaviour thing. This is just a quirky thing. Well, it can leave you feeling really tired as well and a bit kind of emotional. You're not getting that proper stages of sleep. Not only that, there is that worry that you're still quite active, and we shouldn't be active in our dream stage of sleep. We should be paralysed and just let this part of our brain deal with all this problem solving and mood regulating part of it. But if you're acting out your dreams, then that can become dangerous for you. Like you said, you've let yourself out. So really easily treated. I mean, my boss, or my old boss, is a consultant at the Royal Infirmary and the sleep department. She's lovely, and this is kind of her speciality. And she's really, really good. So just go to your GP, explain what's been happening. You're worried, you're concerned about your health, your safety, family safety, and you'll get a referral to go and see her. Her name's Dr. Rhea, so it's Renata Rhea. So just ask your GP if you can get referred to there, and you'll get put on the waiting list. The waiting list is not that long, but you just need to describe what's going on. It's not quirky and it's not funny. It can be quite worrying for you and your family. Okay.
Mostly it is like funny things, but going out of
Yeah.
the sheds, like that could have been dangerous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it tends to happen in childhood. Some people grow out of it. Some people develop it in adulthood. Sometimes it's stress related. So like you're saying, it's been a bit worried since the COVID thing. It can be exacerbated, not triggered, because it's maybe always been there and it's been funny, but it become more serious when there's stress added on top. But it's really easily treated. And it is treated by medication, and it can just knocks out that part, where you get up. So it's really easily treated. There's nothing, it's medication. I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose you. I would just suggest that you speak to your GP and get a referral.
That's good. Does that help, April?
Yeah, thank you.
As a matter of interest, April, any of your kids, have you got kids?
Yeah, I do. I've got two, and they have, it's not nightmares, it's night terror. So they wake up screaming,
My little boy.
and they just don't know that they're awake. And
That's
it's
really
awful.
common. Aye, that's really common. But sometimes, so that's fine. That's really common, and they'll probably grow out of that.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Nothing you can do about that. You just have to be there when it happens. My eldest was like that. It's horrible because they look right through you.
Yeah, it's pretty like my older son, like he's constantly screaming, "Mommy, stop!" And I'm like, "Oh my god," it's so emotional.
There's nothing you can do, but they will grow out of that. Yeah, my daughter grew out of it.
And then they look at you like nothing's happened. Like what?
Right through you, I know,
Yeah.
and you're shaking, and they just go back to sleep.
Yeah.
They never remember it in the morning.
No, that's proper. Then that's night terror. It's very common.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Though. Thank you very much for that, April. That was a great question. We've got another question from Aoife, and that is, I eat really well. I also exercise every day. I follow all the tips already. No TV, no phones, nearly 2 hours before bed, although I do listen to a podcast, but I can go 2 weeks without sleep sometimes. I really think I've got insomnia.
Well, who was that?
Aoife.
She's off screen. Yeah, well, that's a difficult one to answer. There would always be something there. So I do get quite a lot of people saying, I do everything I'm supposed to do and you still can't sleep. Well, there could be a history for that. So something might have triggered, one of your parents might have had insomnia, or you've witnessed it growing up. There could be so you've got the model that I use, I'll not go into, but basically, what can you predispose to? What is your history? If your parents had insomnia, as your dad's got insomnia, yeah. So that's kind of your predisposing things. So I'm not saying it's genetic, but what happens is behaviorally we see that, and subconsciously we take that on board. So your dad may have had insomnia due to an event or a stressful period, and you've maybe associated stress with that without realizing it. And then what would happen is there'd be a trigger. So everybody's triggers are private to them. So it's not, this is not a kind of forum for going into anything like that, but there's usually a trigger there. And what we say is you get 3 months. So our human nature is unbelievable. Our body allows us 3 months to deal with stress, okay? Particularly stress that affects your sleep. If you're still stuck in that cycle after 3 months, it can then become chronic and it can come into insomnia. Again, there are ways I can work around that, but it's difficult to answer that one when I don't have a proper history. so we go on about, what's predisposed you. Your dad's got insomnia. There's probably a trigger that you'll know about. Now, a lot of people, it's COVID at the moment. But if you look back, there'll have been a history of it before. And then you've got what's keeping it going. So you're saying you've got a great sleep hygiene. I don't know what you're doing during the night when you're waking up or you're not able to get to sleep. So that's, it's a wee bit more in depth than answering it just like that, because I would need to know the history.
And what we'll do as well, Donna, is before we finish today, I'll let everybody, or make everybody aware that they can get in touch with you as well, and you can do consultations with people one-to-one over Zoom, or telephone call or whatever. But we'll share that information at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got another question, and that is from Sarah. And that is, I woke up choking on my saliva one night a few weeks ago, and it really scared me, but hasn't happened again. Could this have been similar to an episode of sleep apnea?
Who was that, Sarah? And do you want to unmute, Sarah?
Yeah, hi.
Hi there. Have you got a history of snoring? Has anybody said you snore or you hold your breath?
No, I suffered from insomnia at the sort of start of the year, and I used to struggle to get to sleep and breathe. And sometimes I felt myself lying on my back and I would wake myself up by sort of stopping. But I've not had anything like that in months, and I was on my front when this happened.
Yeah. You're saying there you're telling me you've got two things going on there. So you're talking about obstructive sleep apnea and insomnia.
Yeah.
When somebody tells me that, it sounds as if where the insomnia part comes out, sometimes we get hypervigilant about our sleep. So if we think, oh, we've got insomnia, a lot of the time we don't. Okay, a lot of time people don't actually have insomnia. They're just having a difficult period of sleeping. And when that happens, we become really sort of hyper about what's going on with our sleep. So it may just be that you've just had a wee bit of excess saliva. So if nobody's noticed you snoring or holding your breath, it's unlikely that you've got obstructive sleep apnea. And sometimes a wee bit of saliva's choking you. It's just a wee bit of saliva's choking you. But if you're a wee bit hypervigilant and you're thinking, I'm not sleeping anyway, that stress response comes a wee bit increased. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually thought that, just because I obviously even now I'm more aware of, like, when I'm going to sleep, I'm really like stressed and aware like something like that might happen.
Yeah. Just tell yourself, by relaxing yourself, if you've never had anybody say, my God, you really snore and hold your breath and choke, then I would say, I've always got to say a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but I would say that you don't have obstructive sleep apnea. If you're not waking up in the morning with a sore head, a dry mouth, feeling terrible through the day, nobody's told you you're snoring, choking, holding your breath, then I think it is what it is. You've just maybe choked, and we've all done it. We've all breathed differently one night, and it's when you're a bit hypervigilant, it's when you've got a wee bit of something else going on. So maybe you've got a wee bit of insomnia going on there. So you're looking for things anyway. You're looking for things to explain why you're not sleeping. And if that happens, then we'll worry, oh my God, am I not sleeping because I've got something else? So we focus on that thing. So to me, that just sounds like we've all done it. I've done it. I've woken up choking. I'm sure we've all woken up at some point. Sleepers. That sounds terrible, but it's a simple fact. Kids do it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think maybe what to do
That
is,
helps, Sarah.
what's Kieran?
Yeah.
I'm saying, does that help you, Sarah? Do you feel a bit better about it now?
Yeah, definitely, because it obviously was really scary, and I thought, well, it must have just been like choking, but I was on my front, and that's why it confused me a lot, because I thought I've slept on my back before and woke up like having that sort of, oh my gosh, I woke myself up because I like almost was like snoring or sort of stopped breathing. I don't know, but yeah.
You've probably been in a stage of sleep where your sleep's been really light anyway. And
Yeah.
you've just, and it's just you've just maybe been aware of surroundings, and this is kind of triggered you out of that bit of sleep that you've been in, and it's just added sort of to the worry that you sound like you're worrying about sleep anyway. It's sort of just added to the sleep, which is
Yeah.
a really natural occurrence.
And it could be the way you've been lying, even though you're on your front.
Absolutely.
You can still gather
Yeah.
mucus and
Yep.
saliva in the top part of your that part there. What is that called, Donna?
Your trachea.
That's so
Your
bad.
neck, Stephen. Slavers in your mouth. Slavers in your
Flavors
throat
in
and
your neck.
neck.
It sounds really glamorous, but it's true.
You just got to say it as it is.
And I think
Yeah.
I think if it helps as well, I've definitely experienced that and woke up with a fright, and I think many
I
other
have.
people probably have.
Yeah,
too.
my sister tells me that. Yeah, that she does that, and so first she'll phone and say, "Oh, I think I've got that obstructive sleep apnea. What happened?" I say, "No, you just choked on your slavers." It's yeah. The insomnia part might just be a different thing. Again, that's different. So
Yeah.
maybe what's been going on in your life. Sometimes it's quite easy to see what's been going on in your life, identifies why you're having a period of insomnia, and we all have them. It's just how you get over that period of sleeplessness. Sometimes it's not insomnia, sometimes it's just a reaction to life, and it's how you prevent that becoming an insomnia. It's important.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Thank you.
that's
That
helped.
help?
Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Hopefully you can sleep, rest easy, or rest assured that it's just your slavers, and if it happens again, don't worry.
The sleep specialist says it's just your slavers in your mouth. Happens to us all.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a good question. And then we've got another from Teresa. I fall asleep, no bother, but awaken every couple of hours. Slightest noises wake me. Fitbit says only 2 hours deep sleep average.
Guys, can I tell you to get rid of your Fitbits for sleep? Okay, everybody get rid of their Fitbits for sleep.
Totally
They don't
agree.
measure your sleep stages, and all they do is increase the anxiety. And there is, oh, now I can't remember the word. There is a condition. Oh, I've got a dog coming in. Hold on. There is a condition, and what it is, it's been created by Fitbits and these apps that monitor sleep. They do not measure your stages of sleep. So get rid of them. Keep them for your steps. That's what I do. Hold on. They're good for your exercise, but did you see my jammy bottoms there?
Yeah.
They're
I
good
did
for.
stop.
Sorry.
I did stop wearing it. I stopped wearing it a while ago because I thought I'm just going to get anxious
Yeah.
about it. But it hasn't altered the fact that I waken every couple of hours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's lots of things. So what I'd like to know is what you're doing in the lead up to your bed, usually.
My room's always cool. I never have heating on. I always have
Yep.
the window open. I always take wind down time before bed. I don't have anything to eat generally, at least a couple of hours before going to bed.
Yep.
And weather permitting, I go for a walk. I used to, up until a couple of years ago, I had the dog, and the cat always came. I lost my cat just earlier in the year there. So he always went out a walk after the dog died as well. So I'm used to going out a walk, so I don't see any reason to stop it, because I find it quite good and refreshing, well, it helps me sleep. So in my opinion, I do everything to create,
You're supposed to.
a good sleep environment, but I live near the airport. The noises.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So you've got, so you've described your sleep wind down period, so your sleep hygiene, they call it. Sounds very good, but I was going to say, Stephen mentioned when he read out that you're waking very easily.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things going on. I mean, at the moment, I'm going through some sleep issues because I suppose that I don't mind saying it, I'm going through the menopause. So unbeknown to me, I thought it was stress and worry and something else that was breaking up my sleep. Getting sleep, no problem. Everything was in place, and I was waking up regularly through the night. So there's a couple of things. It could be there's a change in your hormones. That's one thing. I don't know if you've considered.
I didn't think of any left.
I know, but sometimes.
menopausal.
Yeah, but it's the
Yeah.
reduction in our
Yeah.
estrogen that actually wakes us up. Now,
Uh-huh.
I was really struggling for about 18 months with hot flushes, and yeah, it's a joke, blah, blah, blah. It's not a joke when it's affecting your sleep. So latterly, it was really affecting my sleep. And I went to the GP who knew nothing about sleep and said, oh, I'll give you antidepressants. I'm not depressed. My sleep's
No.
broken up due to this hormone, this estrogen. So I ended up educating her about it.
Mhm.
What happens is during the night, we go to bed, everything's fine, we have no symptoms, and then your estrogen is in your boots. And it will either give you a rise in temperature or it will wake you up. Definitely
You
wake you up.
get really extreme fluctuations in temperature. I'm rarely sort of in between. I'm either way too hot and then just as suddenly be freezing.
That's how I was. I've had to now go on HRT because it was a lack of sleep. I couldn't function. I couldn't help people deal with their sleep when I was really sleep deprived. So that's been an education for me because I wasn't really seeing women with menopause, or I suppose you just put down to, oh, well, you know, your hot flush will wake you up. I never realised how disabling it was for women. So that's been actually quite good for me because now I've just done more work on menopause. The other thing it could be, you said you're waking up really easily. Have you tried earplugs?
Yep, I've tried them. I've recently had increased arthritic symptoms, so that doesn't help. The period of sleep that I'm getting is shorter because I'm waking up with cramps in my hands and my feet.
That's the middle part. So you'll be waking up, like I said earlier, on that middle part of, you know, the sort of insomnia. We don't know what to label everybody with insomnia. That middle part is usually medical, where you're waking up with pain. So it might just be that your pain control is not enough. So you might need to contact your GP and say you're having breakthrough pain.
Right.
Are you on pain medication just now?
I take cocodamol. I can't take anti-inflammatories, unfortunately. So I take cocodamol, and they've recently put me on nortriptyline.
Right. Okay. It's like an
nerve
amitriptyline.
pain.
Okay. It might just not be enough. Your dose might. Is it recent? How recent?
About 2.5, 3 months ago.
No, it should have kicked in by now. You need to contact your GP and say you're having breakthrough pain and it's waking you up.
Right. Okay. Do these types of medication, do they affect your sleep?
Shouldn't. No.
No.
It's like the amitriptyline one. It actually helps you sleep. The one that you're on, the triptyline one, should help you sleep, but you're just, because it's like a muscle relaxant, but you're just maybe not on a high enough dose.
Okay. Right, I'll get that.
Just, as I say, I'm not a doctor, but just maybe contact your doctor and say you're having breakthrough pain and it's waking you up during the night.
Because when I get up in the morning, I actually feel probably more stressed than I do at any point throughout the day. And I actually feel as though the noises that I'm hearing are probably stressing me out before I even get up, you know.
I would suggest trying earplugs again, though, but maybe try a different kind. The ones I use, because I was a night shift worker, I still use them, are just the soft foam ones that go in and you can hear if there's an emergency, you would hear it. But otherwise, it just dulls out dogs snoring and stuff like that for me. Environmental noise, it stops that.
Okay, then, that's great.
That
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. We're nearly at the end. I'm like, this is a great session. I've loved this. It's been so good.
I could talk for Scotland, I know.
I want to ask you a quick question, and that is on, you know how people will play certain types of sound.
Hang on to check my dogs out. Sorry, Stephen.
No, you're all right.
Oh. Sorry, what was that?
People will play certain types of sounds right through the night to help them sleep. And specifically binaural beats and isochronic tones. What is your take on that? Do you think that aids sleep, or do you think that it can again stop you from sleeping?
Well, if it works for you, fine. Okay, so if you need that, or if people need that and it works for them, brilliant. Me, it's difficult because if it works for you, then that's, you know, I'm never saying, because then you get some people saying, oh, use a CAM app. If it works for you, brilliant. As a behavioural specialist, I would rather, if you're coming to me with insomnia, I would rather set you out in the program. I don't add any gimmicks or any tools or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if you come to me and say, I use this and it kind of helps me, then I would incorporate it. To me, bedtime environment is like your stimulus control. Your bedroom needs to be like a cave. Cool, dark, electronic, clutter-free. That's what your bedroom should be like.
So
no noise, no stimulus.
Back to your top tips then. Take away the stimulus. Yeah.
That's the whole CBT thing. It's just about the stimulus control. You want your bedroom to be your sanctuary. That bedroom is for sleep and sex only. Obviously, I didn't tell the school kids that when I'm teaching them, but yeah, you've got to be really careful, because that was part of my first presentation to the school kids. I was like, oh, maybe not put that one in. But that's what your bedroom.
Properly there, Donna. I thought you said sleep insects.
No, sleep and sex.
I was going to say, what's a sleep insect? Sorry.
Sleep insects. No. So that's how your bedroom should be. So because I'm saying if it works for you, I don't recommend there's any devices in the bedroom. So I want you to strip everything back. I want to take you back to basics. Like when you were young. When I was young, there was no tellies or central heating or nothing. You went to your bed at 8, 9 o'clock and it was a cold, dark room, basically.
Yep.
And you had no choice but to sleep. Yeah, no double glazing, nothing. So your bedroom was for sleep. You went to bed to sleep. Now we bring everything into our rooms, don't we? Some people, and I had a one wee patient of mine, just a young guy, and he had 3 laptops in his room. And his mother took all his curtains away and put light net or something up because she liked it. And that poor guy could not sleep. I mean, that's just strip it all back. So I suppose what I would say to people is cool, dark, almost cave-like. Have as many cushions as you want. Have it comfortable, but clutter-free, electronic-free, dark.
Brilliant.
Blinds, dark. It needs to be dark.
We're right at the very end now, Donna. We're going to have to close. I don't want to keep everybody longer than we should.
Mm-hmm.
And time's always annoying, because you want to chat for ages. I know me and you sit here and chat for ages, but we are going to do this every Wednesday for the next 3 weeks. Donna's said that she's really happy to come on every Wednesday. So, you know, if there is things that you guys want to ask Donna, you can ask her next Wednesday. We can talk about sleep stages next Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
So I've got that there in my notes. If anybody wants to get in touch with Donna, though, to have private consultancy one-to-one, they can do that with her. Now, Donna, how would you prefer people contact you? Because I don't want to say it unless you agree with it. So,
well, I do. So I do work privately, obviously. Just contact me through sleep consultancy. Yeah, and then or Donna AOL.
Yeah, I was going to share your email address, but
yeah. Share my Donna at AOL, and then I can have a wee look and then see if you, because I mean, if it's just maybe a wee bit of advice, then that's different. But if somebody does have something that's going on there, there's a bit of insomnia, then you know it's different. Then maybe go down the private route and then maybe offer a treatment, which is usually about 6 weeks, and it can be done Zoom with a phone or email. Some people just need a 1-hour consultation and then nothing else after that. So what I would do is I would write a treatment program for you after just that 1-hour consultation. Yeah, but you can contact me on Donna AOL, and then I can see whether I need to direct you to the sleep consultancy or if I can just give you a wee bit of information, a wee bit of guidance.
I've put in there in the comments as well, folks, Donna's email address, so you can have a wee look in the comment section there, and I'm sure you'll be able to see it.
I hope that helps everybody. I hope I haven't spoken too much.
Not at all. That's really been a great session. I've really enjoyed that. I want to talk to you just before we go about what's happening tomorrow. So we have got tomorrow, our guest, just confirmed in the last half hour, is the lovely Mary Claire. She's the creator of Dream Magic Superfood Powders. So, you know, the spirulina and all of that kind of stuff. the stuff that I think tastes absolutely awful. So I'm hoping that she'll be able to share with me why or ways in which you can take it and it helps you. She's also a quantum energy coach, and she runs Dream Fitness in, I think it's Bathgate. It's a gym with her sister Joanna. She's passionate about all things relating to improving health, fitness, and mental well-being, and loves helping clients to look at and feel their best mentally and physically. Her daily self-care practice is non-negotiable for her. She found this out the hard way, and she's excited to share the tools and techniques which work for her with you all. And again, it's what works for her. And if that's helping one person every single day through these surgeries, what works for us or what works for the speaker, I think it's a wonderful thing. So you can tune in tomorrow for that. And then on Friday morning, we have got, back by popular demand, my lovely friend Susan Wilson, talking about floppy noodles or wet noodles and many other things, and how you can deal with stress and anxiety and all of that kind of stuff. So Susan will be back on Friday morning at 9:30. So from me and everybody at the Susan Watson, did I say Wilson? I did say Wilson, sorry. Susan Watson. I seen April's face there looking like, what? Who's Susan Wilson? Susan Watson. She'll slap me for calling her Susan Wilson. So before we finish, I just want to say a huge, huge big thank you to the lovely Donna for coming on today. I know that many of you will have taken quite a lot from that. I know I certainly have. Sleep's such a huge subject, though. You could talk about it forever. It's such a complicated, complex thing. And that's why we'll have a series where we're working with you over the next 3 weeks, Donna, so that people can get even more of your mystical guidance.
Mystical. I don't know if it's mystical.
So that's you guys. You can all log off now. I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes longer and have a wee chat with Donna before we go. But thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Donna, for being.
Thanks for your questions. That was great.
Yeah.
Get still grey matter going.
So we shall see you later, guys. Bye for now.
Bye. Nice to meet you all.
And Donna, you stay there. Don't go.
I'm staying.